Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and today we're jumping into a fascinating piece of history.
And I'm your resident historian, ready to unpack it all.
So, usually when you picture a presidential cabinet, you probably imagine a formal boardroom, right?
Yeah, totally. Suits, official titles, guys who went through those really rigorous public confirmation hearings.
Exactly, the highly visible apparatus of power. But what if one of the most powerful political advisors in early American history had no formal title at all?
Right. No office, and operated entirely from a farmhouse, like miles away from the Capitol.
Yeah, today's mission for you, our listeners, is to unpack this incredible stack of primary sources. We're looking at a preserved collection of over 1,100 letters.
It is a massive collection.
It really is. And these documents prove that Abigail Adams wasn't just managing the homestead. I mean, she was basically functioning as John Adams's chief of staff.
She really was. And these letters map out a trajectory that completely defies the era.
Oh, 100%.
We're looking at how a woman with zero formal political standing wielded enough strategic influence to be, well, sarcastically dubbed Mrs. President by her critics.
Wait, they actually called her that.
Oh, yeah. They were not thrilled about her influence.
That is fascinating. Well, her physical distance from the Capitol was actually kind of her superpower. She functioned almost like an early political algorithm.
An algorithm? I like that. How do you mean?
Well, she took in these massive data sets, right? Foreign newspapers, local Massachusetts gossip, agricultural economics.
Resist it all.
Exactly. And fed John the exact comprehensive reality check that he just couldn't get inside a political echo chamber.
A perfect example of that strategic output is her letter from June 30, 1778.
Right, when John was in France.
Yeah, he was acting as a diplomat. And the British peace commissioners had just offered America a deal for independence.
Okay.
But the catch was that America had to trade freely with Britain and ally with them against France.
Which, I mean, sounds tempting if you just want the war to end. But Abigail reads this and absolutely roasts the British ministry.
She does not hold back.
Not at all. She calls the commissioners blockheads pushing folly and madness. She argued America could never desert the generous French allies who had just bled for them.
Right.
And she signs this brilliant geopolitical breakdown with the pen name Portia from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. She knew exactly the intellectual weight she was throwing around.
Oh, and John knew it too. I mean, he didn't just read these letters to humor his spouse. He deeply respected her judgment.
So he actually listened to her foreign policy advice.
Oh, heavily. He frequently relied on her insights. He explicitly wrote back to her saying, "I want to hear you think," and he praised her for shining as a stateswoman.
Wow, stateswoman, that's a strong word for that era. But advising from a farm is one thing, right? In 1797, John wins the presidency.
Right, and Abigail's invisible influence is suddenly dragged into the very public, very brutal spotlight of the Capitol.
Her political influence really peaked when she became the first lady to live in the White House.
Yeah, and she immediately used that proximity to go on the offensive. The primary sources show she was actively planting favorable stories in the press to defend his policies.
Which is incredibly dangerous for that era. By stepping into that highly visible role, she gave John's political enemies a completely unguarded flank to attack.
And that vulnerability became glaringly obvious during the passage of the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798.
Right, and just to be clear for you listening, it's easy to view that purely as malicious censorship today. We're not endorsing the laws, just looking objectively at what the sources say.
Exactly. Abigail strongly supported these laws, which punished publishers of political falsehoods. When you read her letters, her underlying logic makes sense for her context.
Because the early American press wasn't just bias.
Right, it was actively trying to incite rebellion. So she saw these acts as like emergency tourniquets to stop the fragile new republic from collapsing under foreign-backed misinformation.
But the backlash to that active engagement was severe. Albert Gallatin, a prominent political opponent, complained in writing about her immense power.
Yep, that's where the famous label comes from. He called her Mrs. President not of the United States, but of a faction.
Were they a total monolith, though? Did she ever break ranks with John?
Oh, they had massive disagreements. Most notably during the XYZ affair, when France insulted the U.S. by demanding bribes. Abigail was highly hawkish.
She wanted war.
Exactly. She favored going to war over the insult. But John defied her advice and successfully pursued neutrality instead.
I have to wonder about that, though. If he ignores her on the brink of war, is her influence maybe overstated? Like, who's really running the show?
Well, that tension is the best part of their dynamic. He defied her, sure, But her hawkish stance was exactly what forced him to rigorously stress test his neutrality strategy.
Oh, I
She
see.
didn't have to dictate his every move to be powerful. By arguing so fiercely for war, she forced him to bulletproof his own arguments for peace.
That completely reframes how you look at the architecture of historical power.
Right.
These 1100 letters prove that power isn't just held by the people signing the official documents. It's shaped by the brilliant minds rigorously challenging them behind closed doors.
The invisible cabinet, which is a profound legacy in itself.
It really is, leaving you with one final thought to mull over.
Lay it on us.
Since her private letters were preserved and later published by her grandson, including her famous plea to remember the ladies, did Abigail's private correspondence secretly serve as the foundational blueprint that inspired the public women's rights movement of the 19th century?
Oh, wow. That is a great question.
Just something to ponder as you consider the real forces shaping history.